The following podcast may contain adult language and an abundance of salt. So get ready to boldly go, because we're talking Star Trek, Insurrection, and Nemesis. Thank you for joining us on the Salty Nerd Podcast today. We're going to be talking about the two movies of the Next Generation era, Insurrection, which is episode 9, or movie 9, and Nemesis, which is movie 10. And I'm joined, as always, by my fantastic panel of Trekkies. Matt Vader, who's fixing his hat.
You got me all
74. What's up, bro?
I got to get trekked up here.
There you go.
Here we go.
How you doing, man?
I'm good.
Ready to talk about these movies?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, always up.
Also, Jude, the newcomer to the Trek community.
I forgot my pen.
Oh, no.
It's over there by you if you want to get out of the drawer for me.
Later.
Okay.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
You ready to talk about these movies?
Yes.
I can't wait to hear what you think about these.
Don't squint your eyes at me.
I'm skeptical. And Matthew Kadish, producer. Welcome, sir.
So in addition to Insurrection and Nemesis, you forgot to mention that we're also going to be talking about the documentary Chaos on the Bridge, which kind of chronicles the first 2.5 seasons of Star Trek The Next Generation and all the behind-the-scenes drama that was going on.
That's right. Yeah, we'll talk about behind-the-scenes stuff.
I feel like he likes that movie way more than we do.
Well, he'll be probably talking about it more. But there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff with Next Generation and how it kind of became its own thing, and then how Roddenberry. We'll talk about it. It's going to be included in this podcast at the end. We'll talk about the Chaos on the Bridge, hosted by William Shatner.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. I like that episode.
He did a lot of this. Fascinating.
So well, Shatner actually did like his whole series of Star Trek-based documentaries.
Yeah,
and this was one of them.
You know what I love about Shatner is how much shit he talks about Star Wars on Twitter.
He's a total troll.
I love it.
It's hilarious.
His Twitter stuff is epic.
Dude, he quote tweets Mark Hamill and starts talking shit.
So, well, maybe if your shit was good.
Like, bro, you made the motion picture. Why don't you calm down?
I love that movie.
I know you do, Jude. That's why we love you.
We like it too.
All right, before we get into it, we're going to take a quick break. We'll listen to some sponsors. We'll be right back. Hey guys, if you'd like to support the podcast, go to saltynerdclub.com. There you can find our Patreon page where you can help support the podcast so we can make awesome content for you. And in return, you get exclusive access to a bunch of really cool stuff, including our favorite thing, the blooper reel, which is everything that we have to cut out of the podcast because we fumble over our drunk tongues and we can't say anything and Vader makes uncolorful jokes.
Probably get us canceled.
All kinds of fun stuff. It's there in the blooper reel. Go to saltynerdclub.com. Join a tier, whichever tier you can afford, $1, $3, whatever it is, doesn't matter. We truly appreciate all of our supporters.
That's where I talk about dwarves.
And
funny.
Great, now we have to cut that.
I'm the king of the dwarves.
Yeah, it's funny stuff, guys.
You know, there's no dwarves in Star Trek. What's up with that?
There should be.
There really should be. There should be a whole planet of them.
Absolutely. I agree.
A planet.
Let's make it happen.
A planet with like low gravity. Or with a lot of gravity, so people are like naturally
really short. That's genius.
That's really cool.
All right, guys.
Write
Write it.
Actually, a planet with low gravity would have tall people.
Yeah, he reversed it. Yeah.
We'll call it a Oompa Loompa 9.
I think that term is trademarked.
Is it?
Willy Wonka's factory.
Are we going to get trademarked?
Willy Wonka planet with a bunch of orange short people.
And then like Willy Wonka is like an evil villain and he's been abducting people from this planet for years.
That would be awesome.
To be slaves in his chocolate factory.
We should be in the Orville writing room. How freaking hilarious would that be?
So we could have Willy Wonka. We could Wonka 7 and it'd be orbited by a moon called a Oompa Loompa something. And it could only be like
Oompa Loompa Prime.
But it doesn't orbit.
It just...
There's a hot side and a dark side, and all the Oompa Loompas work in the mines.
And every time you're just about to like nab Willy Wonka, he does a flip and he gets away.
Yeah.
He's got his cane and he starts whacking Picard on the head with it.
He does a somersault and all of a sudden he's gone.
I mean, there hasn't been a lot of stuff for all the dwarves in Hollywood to do. We need to make this movie. So,
Let's do it. Kadish, write it.
I'll get on it.
Also, get me Lawman 2. I really want to watch that movie.
There's some dwarves in makeup.
Maybe.
Oh, for sure, dude.
Yeah?
Yeah. Cool. Anyway,
all right.
What are we talking about?
I don't know. I lost track. All right, guys. The next movie on our list today is Insurrection. So, Jude, take it away. What is Insurrection all about?
All right, sir. 1998 Star Trek Insurrection. Rated PG with a runtime of 1 hour 43 minutes with a budget of $58 million. What do you think this brought into the box office?
$150 million.
Vader?
212.5.
Close. $112 million.
Oh,
so
man.
it doubled its budget.
That's $100 million off.
Yeah.
Well, didn't do very well, though, huh?
I just wanted you to feel good about yourself.
Damn shame.
All right.
Go
You
ahead.
ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
An observation mission goes bonkers when Data inexplicably goes on a rampage, exposing the peaceful mission. Turns out there's more to the mission than meets the eye, and Picard is faced with defying orders or defying the Prime Directive. Smelling a big whiff of bullshit coming up from the order to forcibly remove the Baku from their homeland for the greater good, Picard figures out that the civilization is resting upon the fountain of youth. The Federation wants to suck the youth juice out of their planet, but Big Daddy Picard is feeling a bout of rebellious youth coming on, and he's gunning for a fight. Casting his captain buttons aside, he straps on his leather jacket of justice and fights to defend the Baku from being ripped from their homes.
This is brilliant.
And Riker gets a very sexy shave from Troy.
Jude,
That was awesome.
you need to write the IMDb fucking. This is genius. The leather jacket of justice. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, you always know a captain is going to get real when he puts on his leather
Yes.
jacket.
Oh my God.
And he's all
Watching
like-
this, Kadish can attest to this. The whole time I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. It's happening.
Jude loved this movie.
Oh, I'm so happy.
So sexy.
Yes. Remember when he goes in and he's feeling, he's like, no, not that music. Play something festive. And he's like, he's dancing. Oh, this movie's great. I have
a calypso or whatever it was. I don't know.
Remember when he tells her, I've always been into older women. What? Sir,
Yeah, and
get some.
you should have seen her with the whole Riker and Troy thing where they're
Oh, and they're in the bathtub and they're shaving. Yeah.
Is that in the next movie?
This is in this movie.
That's in this movie, sir.
And remember when he's like, my face is smoother than an android's bottom, and Data feels his
Data
face.
checks.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And then he goes, nah. It's freaking genius.
You know,
I love this movie.
This is kind of like going to the next movie too. But man, Jonathan Frakes in a sex scene is just not cool.
It's do you have weird feelings about Jonathan Frakes?
He's so mouthy.
Mouthy?
Yeah, he's like he like
Yeah.
swallows her, dude. It's
Well,
really
he's
gross.
like 4 times her size.
He's all
Troy's-
it's like he's like fuck, dude. It's just
He
like,
did what now, baby?
yeah, it's just like
Troy's into it, though.
get your tongue out of her
Yeah.
nostril.
Okay, so Jude.
she's into it after he shaves the beard.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Well,
yeah. She's like, gross. Don't kiss me with that thing on your face.
Yeah, she was like, last time we did that, you didn't have the beard.
They were all like 80s kissing. It was nasty.
my wife
Just
says the
been
same
doing
thing.
hand stuff this whole time on the ship.
Pon farring. All right,
So
so
you know Riker's pond farm.
oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
He's experimented with literally everything.
Yes. Speaking of Jude, I need before we get into this.
He gets
Yeah.
around.
Speaking
Speaking of
of experimentation, what do you want to know, sweetheart?
speaking of Riker's sex life, how much of the TV show TNG have you watched so far? Are you familiar with Riker's like sexual escapades on the TV show?
I mean, I have an idea. I watched the Pleasure Planet one where he was like, "Hey, go get that.
The Horgon.
Where his nipples were showing?
Yeah, go get the Horgon.
Go
The
get
Horgon.
go get the whore bottle."
I like that the Horgon has the word whore in it.
Yeah. Also,
Like,
for
like,
sure.
Ira Stephen Bear totally did that on purpose.
I'm sure. What else have I watched? I watched
All right,
Horgon.
so you watched the second one, the Naked Now.
Oh yeah, when Data's fully functional.
Oh yes, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
That's not so much Riker getting sexy though.
That's
And,
just sexy and
Tasha Yar has a little curl thing.
yeah.
It's like it's weird.
Yeah, it's like a Beetlejuice curl.
Yeah, and
Fully
So
functional.
I guess I haven't been witness to a lot of Riker's sexual exploits, but I look forward to it, and I have an idea of what's going on.
I love how you fixed your glasses when you said that. I look forward to it. Genius.
How functional
Goddamn.
are you, Dana?
Genius, Jude. Genius. All right. So, Insurrection. Vader, I know you're like an OG fan, and you say these next gen movies suck.
Yeah, they're not good.
Give me your salt, buddy.
I haven't really thought about the salt. I just don't like them. They're Picard action movies.
Well, this one,
I don't need to see Picard shooting guns and rolling around and jumping over rocks and doing whatever it is that he does. It's
Doing
just,
the Geordie roll under,
yeah,
under a
yeah,
door.
It's just
does the rolling help? It helps.
yeah. I just don't really like Picard in these kind of roles. It's just I want him to be the
thinking man,
the diplomat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
You want him to outsmart his enemies, not outfight them.
These movies kind of went down a weird role. You know, they reduced Worf to comic relief.
Yeah, that bums me out.
You know,
but he was comic relief in the TV show too. A lot of times. Not Deep Space Nine,
not like these,
but
not like this.
No, you don't think
No,
so?
there was no zit jokes. There was no.
What is it called? A gork or something
Gorch.
like that? Gorch.
Oh yeah,
It's
he
a
goes through
gorch.
puberty in this one.
Yeah,
He goes through puberty,
And then
it's just,
Riker's like, so Klingons don't do anything small.
they went down. I'm sure Matt can probably explain it better than I could, but they just went down a weird road with the characters in some of these last two
I
movies.
mean, I guess I see what you're saying because, like, when like the reborn Spock was going through puberty, it was a much more serious, dramatic thing.
Yeah.
And then when Worf was, it was more of a comedic thing.
I
But,
mean,
I guess you could.
I
you can't
have
just-
I have no issue with Worf being funny and making some Klingon jokes, but that's all he was relegated to in these movies.
Yeah, I think it would have been
was-
cool if he was like going through puberty, like they explain in the movie. If he went on like a murderous rampage, like a freaking Klingon, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would have been cool.
I thought they did a lot of weird campy stuff, like
there's serious camp. Yeah,
it's like, first off, why Picard's always leaving the ship like he's not supposed to. He's going on these missions that Riker's a terrible first officer. Okay, he's just is because he and you know the whole singing scene where they're flying the ship against Data. It was cheesy as hell. And Worf's there. Oh, I don't sing. I don't know this song. So he puts up the little.
It has the bouncing ball.
I'm like, really? We're doing karaoke on the ship, you know? And you know, we can get into this even more in the next movie because it's really fucking bad. But yeah, it's just I don't know. It's the Baku were kind of annoying because I don't like people who like
the skin stretch people.
No.
Oh,
the Baku, the Fountain of
Oh,
Youth.
the naive.
the 500-year-old people who like
are naive.
We're gonna give up. We're gonna give up technology and live in our little
They're
hippie mood.
They're hippie Amish people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm all right with that.
It's just like,
That's like my ideal
but
life.
you're a hippie.
I'm not a hippie.
You kind of are.
I just like being
You
outside.
Listen, you go out to pretend to be homeless at least 1 week a year.
It's called
in
camping.
in the snow. It's homeless training.
Dude, guys,
It's
snow
homeless.
camping. Snow camping
it
is where it's
sucks.
at. Don't listen to him.
Don't camp. It's
Don't
useless.
listen to Alex. You'll die.
If you want to camp, go to California.
Why do you want to kill people?
I brought my 5-year-old. He was great.
Yeah, listen, you have too many kids. You did that on purpose.
Okay.
You were like, hey, survival of the fittest.
Are you moving to San Francisco?
No, God, no.
Well, then you don't need to learn how to live in a tent. Okay.
Oh, burn.
Yeah. I don't know. This movie was just both of these movies suck, dude.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You don't have to apologize. It's fine.
They're technically they're nice.
Now-
The special effects and everything are cool, but
Oh, Enterprise looks dope.
but the stories are just not.
So, Jude, you love this movie.
I really enjoyed this movie.
Fight Vader.
This for me. Sold.
I'm a fighter. I fight a lot.
You want to be shirts or skins?
Shirts.
So for me, because like I don't have a whole lot of history with the show and all of these are first watches for me. So for this, I really enjoyed it, and it felt like watching like the OG movies or like an episode of Next Generation, and that's kind of like what this felt like for me.
Mm-hmm.
The next movie did not feel like that for me, but I don't want to skip ahead until we're actually talking about that. This was lighthearted. It was feel good. It had a fun. It had some camp. It had it was feel good. It had all of the things that I love about Star Trek so far in this movie. And I got some sex out of it. I got some camp. I got some humor, and I got to feel good about everything. Yeah, I loved it.
Cool.
I thought it was great.
Cool. Kadish, how about you, buddy? What are your general thoughts on this movie?
So upon the rewatch, I actually liked it better now than when I first saw it, because this has always been like one of my least favorite Star Trek movies.
Was it because of the company you keep when you rewatched it?
Could have been. But like it had been years since I'd seen this thing, because I saw it in the theater and I was like, that sucked. And then I never watched it again. But what's interesting about this movie is that, so when I worked at Paramount and I knew people who were on Voyager and Enterprise and had been in Star Trek for a while. And I was told that Michael Piller, who was like the guy who basically saved Star Trek, he was the one who wrote Best of Both Worlds, and he kind of took over the show and made it character centric with like the writing and all this stuff. And he was the guy who launched Deep Space Nine and Voyager and stuff. So like he had been with the series for like a long time, and he came in and he wrote this, and it was basically like he was kind of like he was ill at the time that he wrote this, I think, cancer. And he was kind of reflective on his life. And so he wanted to make a movie about age and like getting older and youth and the mistakes you make.
I'm relating to that right now.
Yeah.
I mean, same. Aren't we all?
Yeah. But also like the cast was getting older. And so like Patrick Stewart and him were kind of like, like let's make a movie about like age and the fountain of youth and stuff like that. And so the reason it feels like it's just a long episode is because literally the guy who wrote, the episodes for like all the best episodes of Star Trek, like wrote this movie.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah,
because that's what a good Star Trek movie should be.
Yeah,
personally.
And like upon the rewatch, I realized it's like, this is why I'm enjoying this movie now, is because it feels like just a long episode of Star Trek, and now that I can compare it to stuff like Discovery and Picard and stuff like that, it actually feels like a much better movie. But there's so many things that are just like dumb about this film. Like Jonathan Frakes directed this movie, and when he was doing First Contact, he got the nickname Two Take Frakes because like he was just like,
it's like I get to see it.
Yeah, like he would just film at most 2 takes of something, then move on, because he was like background in TV.
Because he's an actor.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
Good. Let's make it work.
Got it.
Right.
Exactly. And this is a Star Trek movie that ILM did not work on. So it was a different effects house, and this was the first time that all the effects stuff was computer generated. There was no model work in this movie, and you can definitely tell because like the CG looks awful.
Really?
I think so.
I thought it looked really good.
I will say, like, the moment that sticks out in my head is that scene where you were talking about where Picard and Worf were singing to Data, and they were like connecting the two ships together, and they were spinning out of control. That looks horrendous. Like
Really?
that's all CGI. Nonsense.
It just looks like CGI from that time when they made it.
Well,
so it doesn't bother me.
It was all this is the first Star Trek movie to have like no miniature work or model work. It was all like computer generated. Also, now that I rewatched this movie, F. Murray Abraham plays the bad guy in it, and I only see C.W. Longbottom in that role.
That's him
from Mythic Quest. Yeah.
The whole time I was like, who is
what?
that? I was trying to figure out, and finally I said it out loud, and he was like, you might know him as C.W.
Wait, what?
Longbottom. I was like, oh shit, that's
from
exactly
Mythic Quest.
Stretchy face is the old dude in Mythic Quest.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
That's news to me. I didn't know that.
Yeah, F. Murray Abraham. And so like the entire time I'm watching this, I just keep picturing like that stretchy face guy in Thailand.
I'll never watch it. I'll never see this movie the same again.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like stretchy face guy just pulls out his Nebula award and just
Puts it out. Dude.
But what's funny is that so in the climax of this movie, Picard faces off with F. Murray Abraham, and they're on the ship that's going to like extract all the radiation from the rings and destroy the planet and all this stuff.
All the
youth juice.
The youth juice.
All the youth juice from the planet. And if you look at the set, they have blue screen set up everywhere, but they decided not to replace it with CGI. So like at the entire climax of this film, I'm just looking at it, I'm like, they literally just left the blue screen.
That's funny.
Did they really?
In the climax. Yeah. Like if you look at it,
I'll have to go back and look.
Like it's this bright blue background, and that was all like blue screen lit, meant to be replaced by CGI. But instead of replacing it with CGI, they just left it in there.
I didn't even notice
to
that.
save
I gotta check
money.
that out.
They must have ran out of money.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of weird stuff in this movie that I think kind of works, but at the same time, like I don't feel like it's very good. Like the introduction of Picard where he's doing the diplomatic thing, he's wearing like the funny hat.
That's classic TNG.
Yeah. And that's what I loved about it. And that you can see Michael Piller's kind of like influence in this, but then like, you know, like later on when you have Data doing like big jumps and shooting those like things, it just looks so awkward, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's just the way they shot it was
like
weird.
The making these guys action stars.
It doesn't bother me that much.
It's not as bad in this movie as it is in the next one.
Yeah. And they had that funny kind of conversation between Troy and Crusher, where it's like, notice your breasts are. Yeah.
I will have to say, my nerd crush on Troy
peaked.
This movie, she looks really good. I'm sorry, man. She looks really good.
I've been really trying, baby. She looks great in this movie.
And this is the one that starts the love affair between her and Riker again, which culminates in the next movie.
I'm going to have my wife shave this off. When the time
comes. In the bathtub with a straight razor?
Riker style.
They use straight razors in the 25th century.
Have to find a big fucking bathtub.
So Brent Spiner actually wanted Data to die in this movie because he just felt like he was getting too old.
Time out. Why do these actors always want to
kill off
die?
their characters?
What is the deal? I don't understand.
Brent Spiner felt like he was getting too old, and it was hard to look at Data from the show.
So why do we have to kill him though? Just write him out. It annoys me. It's like Harrison Ford. I want to kill Han Solo. Brent Spiner. I want to kill Data. I don't understand.
He just didn't want to do the part anymore.
Okay, then make a new android. Bring Law back. Do something. I don't know. Whatever.
Didn't he also play Law?
I guess he kind of did. No. That was his brother. No, Law was Data's daughter.
Oh, okay.
But,
okay.
Yeah.
And what's the other one's name? Lore or something like that, right? Yeah. Lore is Data's evil twin.
Yeah, and his dumbass triplet in the next movie. But,
B4.
B4.
We'll talk about him in a minute. Yeah.
I don't understand actors who want to kill their character.
I think what it is,
I get it.
I'm not talking shit on anybody. I don't want to act like I'm being down on Brent Spiner. I like him as an actor, but I think it's an ego thing.
Is it they don't want nobody else to play the character?
Yes.
Okay.
It's an ego thing. It's the same thing with Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones. He said in an interview before, if I die, Indiana Jones dies. It's the same thing. Han Solo's dead. I don't want anybody else playing the character. It's my character. They die.
So they make prequels and say, screw you.
Well, yeah, that's money. Back up enough money. You were going to say something, Jude?
Well, and just from the perspective of the person who is either reading a story or watching a story, I've always felt like when there's a sad ending, it makes more of an impact to the person who is the consumer of that product. And I feel like if you are done playing as an actor, if you're done playing that role, you want to make that impact on your way out and not just fade into the background.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
I suppose
I get it.
I also want to point out that this movie is basically the Seven Samurai. They took the plot of that and just turned it into a Star Trek episode.
I guess it
they did, huh?
Yeah. There's literally 7 of them.
They had the bad guy come into a low-key farm town, and it's causing trouble, and they called in the freaking 7 samurai to come in. Yeah, it is 100%, huh?
Mm-hmm.
There's only 13 stories.
This is true, Jude. This is very true. For me, this is not my favorite. You guys know my First Contact is my favorite next gen movie.
Mine too.
I don't hate this movie. It's just kind of forgettable to me. I watch it and I'm like, okay, this seems like an extended, maybe 2-parter episode of TNG. I don't have a problem with it. None of the writing is obtuse. I think the characters are pretty much the same as they are in the TV show. Of course, I do agree with you. Worf is used as comedic relief a little bit too much.
How did they get him on this movie? I forget.
He showed up for the party that Picard was having at the beginning.
Yeah, the diplomatic
party.
Because they always have to write.
They have to how are we
gotta
get
Worf on the ship somehow.
Wasn't he supposed to have command of his own ship?
Well, he was
the Defender.
Well, okay.
Right?
So
Defiant.
So this movie came out after the season finale of Deep Space Nine, where Worf lost his wife.
Right.
And so they originally had more dramatic stuff with Worf in this movie, but they cut it out.
That was a mistake.
Streamline it. Yeah.
The other thing too, I think this is a classic. The Admiral is the bad guy. That's a classic Trek thing. They do that all the time.
Well,
the Admiral is like a level above Picard, but Picard has to defy the orders of the Admiral because the Admiral is a douchebag. That's classic stuff.
I kind of feel like the Admiral kind of went out. He redeemed himself a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he dies. He sacrificed himself.
I mean, it's like he knew they were screwed.
He doesn't sacrifice himself. He gets murdered.
Yeah,
this is true.
It's just
It's true. He was kind of
and in the dumbest way possible.
Yeah.
he stretched his face apart.
The special effects in that scene,
that was
bad.
That was really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, my face stretched.
There was when I watched this movie as a kid with my dad, there was one part that always like scared the crap out of me in like a weird way. And watching it again,
When they get the whole face stretch thing, or what?
that was kind of creepy. But there was a moment where the bad guy, the face CW Longbottom, comes into the captain's like quarters and like starts getting mad, and he like screams, and his face starts leaking, and it looks like jelly coming out of his face.
That's awesome.
I remember as a kid, I was like, that's so gross. And I watch it now, and it's kind of laughable. It's like goofy.
Does that happen when you get old? Gross.
Yeah,
God, I hope not.
And one of the most cringy moments in any Star Trek film ever was basically where CW Longbottom, when he finds out that Picard has outmaneuvered him, he does this thing where he's like,
he does this goofy scream.
Yeah, and it was a huge trailer moment. Like
Yes,
they had
I
that thing in the
remember.
trailer,
I remember that.
and it was so stupid.
Oh, it's horrible. He realizes that he was outsmarted by Picard, and just so cringeworthy. It's worse than Tom Cruise.
They tried to do a con moment, where it's like con, but CW Longbottom, he's just like, no.
He just wails like a weirdo.
And the plot for this movie is so convoluted.
It's like I didn't I could get if you take so the bad guys.
So they live on a planet where the rings have fountain of youth juice,
and they rebel, and they want to go and fly off in spaceships, and they leave, and then they realize that they're old, and they have to stretch their faces, and they start dying, so they come back, and they want to like steal the fountain of youth.
Murder their families.
That's pretty basic. But where I don't get is their relationship with the Federation, and how like they roped in the Admiral into all this.
So the Federation has the ships and the technology. And,
the planet's also in Federation space.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, that's right. They had a planet, and the bad dudes have the tech to harvest the youth
radiation.
Okay, so how did they convince the Federation to like steal?
Well, they were
Youth
going to
juice.
remove these people because they're not native to the planet. You're not breaking down the. You're technically not breaking the
Prime Directive
because these people moved there.
Yeah, they were settlers.
They were settlers. They didn't.
They're
warp technology savvy. They're smart. They're not natives.
They're choosing not to be.
We can pick those 600 people up, move them to another place, but instead of like being all weird, Star Trek Federation about it, go, hey man, we're going to do this thing. They try to be all sneaky about it and put this holodeck ship in the lake, so they're going to like instantly beam them all over to the holodeck and secretly move them to another planet or something, or let them live their days out in the holodeck, which is goofy.
What also gets me is that the stretchy face people, are they the Baku?
Yes.
They are. They're descendants.
Yeah,
they're
they're
sons and daughters.
Yeah.
of
They're
Baku.
younger Baku, if you can believe it.
Yeah. So like the big twist is that their race used to be part of the Baku, and then they
rebelled and wanted to leave.
Yeah, they went to explore space.
But if you leave the planet of youth juice,
you get
become
old
you
age.
get
It's
Stretchy
like,
mummified.
it's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be here on your stupid commune hippie planet. Okay.
So instead of just going back to this huge planet and settling somewhere else, they come up with this plot to basically suck all the radiation out of the planet's rings, which will destroy the planet, and basically sell the medical technology to the Federation, which could save billions of lives.
Yeah.
It's like a certain type of radiation that exists in the ring.
What they should do.
It's just
what I would have done.
Make this a hospital planet.
Like Risa.
It's a planet.
Like Risa is the Hooer planet.
Yeah.
This becomes the
medical planet.
The Come Get Young planet.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
they could turn it into a tourist.
But it's in the middle of the briar patch.
There.
What is the briar patch?
It's in the middle of the briar patch, which is like some kind of.
Isn't that briar a bush?
Well, it's like in this
like
region
prickly.
of space where it's like really hostile to travel through, and that's like why they couldn't like warp through the.
Yeah, but it's the
area.
Federation. They can do it.
How bad do you want your boobs lifted?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Jordy got his
it's in a
eyesight back.
nebula that basically prevents starships from like easily traveling through it.
It's it's Star Trek Technobabble gobbledygook.
Okay, I get it. But I think we're onto something here, though, because it's an entire planet, and as far as we know, it has one tiny little village on it.
Valley in the planet.
600 people. That's it.
Fucking move somewhere else.
Yeah,
you could build a
go
hospital
on the other side of the planet.
Yeah, you could build a hospital on the other side of the
They'll
planet.
never know
They
you're
would
there.
never know.
And somebody's like super sick, like, look, this destination is a little bit sketchy to get to, but if you get there, you'll be healed.
And here's the thing also going
Pay
forward.
me $1 billion. You can live there for the rest of your life. Literally forever.
$1 billion.
And all Star Trek going forward after this movie, they know this planet's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why are we not?
And then like Picard's like dying, right? In the TV show.
Oh my God. I didn't even think about that.
Just fucking fly to this planet.
I hate that fucking show even more now.
He could hook up with his GILF and freaking go at it and have sex and get younger.
Jesus. This is the retirement planet. You go to Baku to
You're
retire.
welcome, Alex Kurtzman.
It's like, oh, we're gonna build this stupid android that's like old and has the same defects and stick his soul in it.
Why?
God damn it.
You're confusing Jude.
I know.
Jude.
You just ruined something for me.
Oh, Jude, no.
I didn't know how to
The
say.
show ruins itself.
I'm not allowing you to watch that show anyway. So yeah, it's just.
Ooh, are you laying down the law?
Yeah,
here?
I kind of am. I'm doing you a favor.
You know what? I might come for you later.
Fuck
Just
Alex
one thing, though.
Kurtzman. Fuck him. Fuck, man. I'm so mad right now. Go to Baku, fix Picard. Put him in a goddamn orchid fucking.
Call Tom Hardy and have him play a younger Picard.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm so
Yeah,
angry.
can we talk about that movie?
So
We'll get there in a minute.
Well,
I
hold
need my
on.
straw
So
back.
one of the issues that the stretchy face people had is that they couldn't just go back to the planet and live there because
They'd have to say, sorry, Mom. Sorry, Dad.
well, no, because the radiation worked too slowly if you just let it happen naturally. So what they were trying to do is they were trying to extract it in its
Like potent.
most concentrated
Yeah.
form from the show's rings or from the planet's rings. So the issue basically becomes like, these people who basically live on the planet. It's like because they've been there for so long, they're just they've built up stores of this radiation.
Oh, okay. So that's why it works on them.
Yeah. So
But Picard,
if Picard were to go back there while he was already sick, it might have been too late for him to actually reap the benefits of it.
Okay. But how, like the people that were living there, like when Geordi went down and it fixed his eyes within like how many hours was he on the planet? He wasn't there very long.
Yeah.
And it like reversed his lifelong blindness.
And as soon as he left, it
went back. Like
to
in the
being blind.
in the next movie, he has his eyes back, so it wears off. So you have to stay on the planet if you want to reap those benefits.
Yeah.
That kind of makes sense. I mean, there's a way you could write that, like, oh, that wouldn't technically work.
Yeah, but if Picard hadn't stopped them from harvesting that radiation, then everyone throughout the Federation could have like lived longer lives and not worried about
you go to
disease.
this
But
planet.
for how long?
You go to this planet for 6 months, you get younger, and then you book it, and you can survive for another year or two.
My question is like, couldn't they have extracted some of the radiation from the rings and then figure out a way to recreate it?
Yeah, Crusher said it was a certain type of radiation, right? Like it's a known.
They had to study it.
Yeah, I mean they could have technobabbled their way into it.
Yeah, I feel like that observation mission was doing the wrong thing the whole time.
Yeah, like the Federation could have dedicated endless science teams to recreating this radiation.
And why did they have an observation team where the only 600 people
Because
on the whole planet lived?
So that's Star Trek. When they find primitive cultures, they go study them, and they put these duck blinds up where nobody can see them, so they can study them.
Duck blinds?
Yeah, that's what it's basically is what it is, right?
I feel like they should have had another one like on the other side of the planet, just being like, "Hey, how can we recreate this?"
Was there any animals on this planet?
I didn't see. Oh,
the little mouse,
guy.
the little mouse,
The little CGI little rat,
the little hippo mouse.
the hippo mouse.
Yeah,
So there's
The little Niflin.
do they just live forever then on the planet?
know,
Like animals are just constantly young. There's no
I
generation.
bet there's dinosaurs
That's a
somewhere.
great question.
I love this movie. No,
Headcanon.
I don't hate this movie. I think it's generic. I think it's probably less interesting than a lot of the other movies. I don't have a major issue with it. It's just kind of goofy. It's a little campy, like you said, but that doesn't bother me that much. These are Trek movies.
I like
All the Trek movies are campy. So I don't hate it. One of my favorite things, maybe not favorite, but one of the things that I kind of laugh at and I kind of think back to every time I think about this movie is that weird love relationship that Picard has with the chick on the planet.
Yes.
And she's like, do you ever just live in a moment in time?
You ever have that perfect moment?
And I'm like, oh my God,
Where time
it's
just
so cringe.
time just stands still.
And then that happens. And she
a
like
little-
blows on the flower and it like stays still. And
a little-
Picard's like, oh my God.
It's like, oh, I just jizzed in my
It's,
pants.
yeah, it's just so cringeworthy. It's so goofy. I don't.
It definitely had some shades of Captain's Holiday.
Oh God.
In it. So
I didn't even like the actress.
But the chick, she's hot. What are you talking about?
She's weird.
She's a gift.
she looks like Dr. Quinn.
She's a what?
GILF. Sorry.
GILF.
GILF.
What's a GILF?
Grandmother, I'd like to,
Oh.
Yeah.
because she's like 100, like 300 years old.
She's like, yeah.
She's like a great GILF.
I guess she's kind of hot.
I've always
I don't
been
know.
into
Older women. All right, let's do final thoughts on Insurrection. Vader, give it a rating. Final thoughts.
2 stars.
2 stars?
It's I have such a hard time with Next Generation.
You really
movies.
don't buy Picard as like an action guy, huh?
No.
Okay, that's
No, I do
your
not.
seems to be your biggest problem with all these next gen movies.
I feel like out of all the next gen movies, this one he did the least amount of action in.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's just weird and hokey, and maybe it was too much like a TV episode for me.
A little slow.
A little slow.
See, that's
Yeah.
that's constantly the battle that they have to play with these Star Trek movies. Is like they have to make it like the TV show to get the old school fans
Well,
on
that's-
board,
they
but then
don't,
they
though.
also have to mix it with action, which is something that for some reason people have a problem with.
They don't have to do any of that stuff.
What do they have
Just-
to do?
They just have to make good movies.
Ouch. Okay, Jude, give this movie a rating and your final thoughts.
I feel like everything Vader doesn't like about it is everything that I loved about it.
And I
Nice.
totally appreciate that.
So I love that it was a lot like what we've gotten before.
Mm-hmm.
It's a safe place for me to invest my love and adoration for it. I loved all of the I'm gonna put on my leather jacket. And you about to get a beating.
The scene where he's like, he takes off his pins and he's like,
oh, it's so bad.
I know I'm about to
You
be
know-
a bad boy.
Yeah, I'm gonna take off the thing that makes me a good boy.
Yeah.
And you about to see the bad
Yeah,
boy.
exactly.
Yeah,
I
I
dig
was
it.
into it. So
Dig it.
yeah, I liked it. I really liked this movie. I didn't when we first started watching these movies, I was blown away at how much I enjoyed it. So I didn't get that,
Mhm.
but I still really liked it. So for me, it was like a 3 out of 4 or 3 out of 5 youth juices.
Gotcha. Kadish, how about you, buddy?
So I did like how Picard was treated in this movie. I felt like him kind of standing up for his ideals and kind of, rebelling, leading the insurrection, I guess you could say, was very much kind of in tune with his character. And we got some good TNG crew moments in this movie and stuff like that. But overall, it felt like a long episode of the show, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No.
But when you're doing a movie, I kind of call it the X-Files trap, because every time they've done an X-Files movie, it's just like an episode of the show.
I just
It's like
learned
2
there are
hours.
X-Files movies.
There's X-Files movies?
Where have
Yeah.
you guys been?
Like
Jesus.
2 of them, right?
Yeah, there are 2 of them, and all of them are bad.
Yeah. They're not.
and
good to know.
it's because it doesn't really progress any of the important stuff. It just feels like a long episode of the show.
Mm.
And when you're doing a movie that used to be a TV show, the key to doing it right is to make it impactful to the world that the TV show existed in. And I don't feel like this movie did that. I feel like this was just another adventure in long line of really good seasons of a TV show.
Mhm.
Whereas something like, First Contact felt impactful to the universe that it was in, because it dealt with Picard's PTSD and his history with the Borg and stuff like that.
Mm.
So I always feel like when you do a movie version of a TV show, it needs to justify the fact that it's a movie. And I don't feel like this did that. And I'd probably give it, a solid 2 journal entries out of 5.
For me, this is probably a 3-star movie.
Really?
Maybe 2.5, maybe. I don't know. I don't love
Really?
it. Yeah, I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I have no negative feelings towards it. It's just kind
I'll
of,
bump it up a 0.5 star for CW Longbottom.
there you go. It's
That's
just
fair.
kind of exists. It's just there. I agree with you guys 100%. It feels like an overly long episode of the TV show, which I don't really think is a bad thing, but it definitely doesn't feel like it's worth watching a movie about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This could have been a 2-parter episode, which probably, you know what? I have a feeling sometimes that these writers and stuff, they don't come up with new ideas. They just go to the scrap barrel from the TV show
And there's nothing wrong with
and they
that.
pick up episodes like, oh, this might work for a movie. Let's just expand it a little bit, stretch it out like the skin.
That sounds like, yeah, I think you're right.
So
Trekkies would enjoy that if
Yeah.
they had follow-ups to prior episodes
Mhm.
that were like First Contact was.
Well, even Wrath of Khan was like a
Yeah,
follow-up.
yeah, Wrath of Khan.
for sure.
So the best movies, or the ones that we all love the most, are ones that directly connect
Follow-ups from
episodes from the TV show. Yeah, maybe there's something there.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Is this one the one where Geordi gets his blue eyes, or is that the next
That's
one?
the next.
Well,
no, he had his blue eyes.
He got those in First Contact.
in First Contact.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this one, Geordi got his like sight, his eyes worked.
Yeah.
Right.
He
I
didn't
remember,
have to have
I
the
remember that. I
implants.
couldn't remember if he started off with the
No,
banana
he had
clip.
the contacts.
Okay.
Yeah, Generations was last time he had the banana clip visor.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the record, that is my favorite scene in this movie, is when Geordi gets to watch the sunset.
That was very
That's
dramatic.
it's pretty cool.
I thought
yeah.
for a character moment, that was very fitting.
Yeah.
It was really cool. It had a solid explanation as to why he was able to do that, because he was on this like regeneration youth planet. I thought it worked. I thought it was great.
Which is why, hey man, just bring your sick people here.
Exactly. But it wore off though. But because he's like, I don't know how long this is going to last, but I'm going to take advantage of it now. And he starts crying when he watches the sunset. It was great. I love that moment. My favorite moment.
That was probably the best moment of the movie.
Yep. Best moment. Best character moment for sure.
So yeah, I thought the best moment of the movie was when Troy was shaving Riker.
I've been really trying, baby.
Troy was in the bubbles.
Yes.
I like that.
With the candles. And then the freaking Admiral like cock blocks him in the middle of it. What a dick.
I know,
It's
man.
nice to know they still use like candles for romance in the 25th
And
century.
bubble baths.
Yeah.
Like they always
Yeah.
talk like in the Trek shows on the
Also, it makes me a little bit sad that they haven't thought of new shit for romance.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be as fun in a sonic shower.
Well,
right?
look, yeah, exactly. That's the sonic shower. Have you seen an episode with a sonic shower?
No.
There's a very sensuous scene with a sonic shower in Enterprise, the TV show
I
Enterprise.
don't remember
Text me
that.
that shit later.
It's on Netflix. You can watch the show, but it's
like text me what
it's
what
the
episode it
Vulcan
is.
chick who's like.
Don't tell me anymore. Just tell me what episode it is.
Okay, I'll find out.
So, but it was fun seeing Riker all baby faced.
Yeah.
Once more, like this is the first time in
Since the first season,
Season 2.
yeah
season 2. Are you sure?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So the first time since season 2 that we saw Riker without a beard, and he was very proud of his like freshly shaven face.
I don't know. I like Riker with the beard. I'm trying.
man,
I'm trying to.
I-
I'm trying to mimic it. But
Just
I,
like an android's butt.
yep.
I like Riker with the beard.
Yeah, me too.
For sure.
Me too. Every guy is better.
Beards make everything.
Beards make everything better. Guys,
You
if
get-
you're
you get-
listening in the chat, there's 3 people listening in the chat. If you don't have a beard, what are you doing?
You wouldn't let me in your house if I was baby face. It doesn't work.
All
I
right.
felt touched by his beard in a way that I did not feel touched.
Did you miss
by
it when it
his
was
smooth
gone
cheeks.
in this movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to touch my beard?
I was like, Deanna,
She just ignores
what
me.
kind of choices are you making for yourself?
Salty, you want to touch my beard?
No. Maybe later. You got some beard oil for that thing?
I do. It's in there. Yeah.
Nice.
Every day.
All right. Anyway, Insurrection. So yeah, that's it. That's our discussion for Star Trek Insurrection. Stay tuned. We're gonna take a quick break for some sponsors. We'll be right back. We'll talk about Nemesis. Hey guys, if you'd like to support the podcast, go to saltynerdstore.com. There you can grab some cool merch from us. We have several different shirts that you can choose from, and I think we're still in the month of the Corky shirt. You guys can grab the Corky shirt. Shout out to James Mangold and Corky, who's in the corner over there next to Jude. You can wear that shirt and support our podcast, and that way we can make awesome content for you and get a better studio, apparently,
Instead of this
instead
shithole.
of this place.
What's wrong with the basement?
Nothing wrong with the basement. I love it.
Ma! Meatloaf!
We need some freaking pizza rolls.
Tell the gardeners to shut the fuck up.
See, that was pretty funny.
He gets it once in a while.
Yeah.
All right, guys. saltynerdstore.com. Help support our drinking habit and grab some cool merch in return. Stickers, podcast, all kinds of cool stuff. Okay.
Bathroom.
All right. So full disclosure, guys, at this point in time in this podcast, we are fully buzzed. So let's talk about Star Trek Nemesis, starring Patrick Stewart and Tom Hardy. Take it away, Jude.
All right, sir. 2002 Star Trek 10 Nemesis. Rated PG-13 with a runtime of 1 hour 56 minutes. Had a budget of $60 million.
Wait, what? It's not. I thought this thing was like 3.5 hours long.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
What do you think this brought into the box office?
$60 million budget. I'm going to say $200 million.
Vader?
140.
All right. Started off with a $60 million budget. It brought in $67 million.
Oh, it bombed?
Wow, this movie's not
It
good.
almost destroyed the Star Trek franchise permanently.
Oh my
It was
God.
such a huge bomb.
Why?
And also,
Because it sucks, man.
Yeah.
It does not.
Okay, fine. Then let me tell you what happened in this.
Go ahead, Jude.
Riker and Troy are married. Mazel tov. On the way to the Betazoid planet, they get diverted to Romulus. There's a Data clone and a Picard clone, played by Tom Hardy, that wants to destroy the Federation. Clone Hardy needs Picard Prime alive. He's got to give him the vampire's kiss in order to survive his weird hybrid clone DNA. I'm not sure. Just guessing. It's not totally clear. The chick from Starship Troopers, who's not Denise Richards, comes to the Enterprise's aid and buys them some time while
Wait, whoa, that was her?
Yes. While Picard concocts a plan to defeat Clone Hardy in a man-to-man face-off. Picard Prime tags Data to command. Data tags Troy, who should be on her honeymoon, to command. Prime kills Hardy, and Data sacrifices himself to save Picard and destroys the weapon aimed at the Enterprise. That was a very boring synopsis, but it was better than the movie.
I agree.
I had to stop and watch a couple of episodes of the show
Yeah.
in order to push myself through.
Dude, I've seen this movie a dozen times. And when we decided to watch these, I go, fuck, I'm going to have to watch this movie again. It took me three separate viewings at like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Seriously?
Yeah, it was brutal.
This was a first watch for
this
me,
is
and
a
it held
terrible
zero
movie.
magic. Like, I couldn't understand what was going on. It was hard to follow. And then I kept having to rewind and be like, nope, that's what I thought. I just don't care.
No, this is like deep
Nope.
Trek stuff with the
No.
Romulan Empire.
No.
And there's like a takeover, and then the freaking clone.
We never had to see Romulus.
and it's Picard versus young evil Picard.
But they don't look nothing alike.
They're bald.
the funniest
No,
part
but-
in this movie was when Picard's looking at a picture of himself in college.
And it's him.
And it's like
It's
Tom Hardy.
He's completely bald. You know, it's like Picard had hair
He
when he
had
was
hair.
younger. But
It's been
this movie
established.
retconned that. Totally.
We've seen pictures of Picard with hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. We even saw him acting in the Q episode where he gets stabbed in the heart.
That was a great episode.
Yeah, it was a really good
one of my
episode.
favorite episodes
Yeah.
ever. But he did have hair in that episode, huh?
Yeah.
He had a
I didn't know
terrible
that
toupee.
happened.
Yeah.
Oh, Jude, that's my favorite episode. Well, one of.
We can't try not to
I
spoil
know.
nothing.
It's great. It's Picard at his most badass.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
Can't wait.
Get fucking dune buggies and weird shit.
I can recognize the flaws of this movie, but honestly, I never really hated this movie.
It's like-
When I
It's like
first,
they went to Nimbus 3, the planet of intergalactic peace, to find, data heads and limbs and shit.
and there's like pirates with dune
I
buggies.
think they filmed this just outside town. Here.
Probably. Probably. I didn't know that anybody hated this movie until I met you guys. You people
I don't know very many Trekkies that like this.
were the
movie.
What
first.
do you mean, you people?
You people,
How
you
dare
salty
you.
nerds, were the first people to ever tell me that this movie is hated
Do other Trekkies
to
like
other
this
Trek. I
movie?
don't know. I have no idea.
Listen,
I always thought it was
if
just,
if you're a Trekkie and you're listening to this episode, please, for the love of God, tell me why, or that if you even like this movie in the comments.
If
I
you're one of
wanna
those
know.
original $67 million box office people, yeah, let us know. How many times did you go see it?
I thought like the Romulan takeover thing was kind of cool. The fact that they like the Romulans had this clone of Picard that they were going to use in some kind of freaking spec ops mission, but it failed.
the
And
concept
so they,
is cool.
Yeah,
but
I was
the
like, that's
finished product
completely-
is not.
Yeah.
I thought that was all cool shit.
And the telepathy thing.
Oh, that
and-
was awesome.
And the guy from
Dude.
and the bad guy from Cobra in makeup.
Dude,
and
when
it's just,
That was actually Ron Perlman.
I thought it was a dude from Cobra.
No. The guy who plays Shinzon's like Praetor.
His Viceroy.
Yeah,
Viceroy.
His viceroy
That's-
who helps him magnify his psychic ability. That is
That's
Ron
Hellboy?
Perlman. Yeah,
that's
Why
Ron
did I
Perlman.
think? Why did I think it was the guy from?
because you think every bad guy is the bad guy from Cobra.
well, they
That's
should
true.
be. My bad. Sorry, Ron Perlman.
I didn't know that was Ron Perlman. That's
yeah.
pretty freaking cool.
yeah.
That's one of my favorite scenes in this movie.
I-
like the back and forth. Like so, okay, so
Yeah, and
for
Dina Meyer is the Romulan lady from Starship Troopers.
This is the only movie that could like turn like a a weird gropey overmouth sex scene
There
with
was
Deanna
a-
Troi and do like a really cringe fest rape scene.
There was a
It
telekinetic
awful.
rape scene,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so that was bad, right?
was
That's the
awful.
bad guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and what was creepier about it is that when Shinzon first meets the Star Trek crew,
Oh, he's like, "Can I touch your hair?"
yeah, like he'd never seen a human female before, and he was like really infatuated
Yeah.
with Troy, and so he was really creepy about her hair. And then like they basically project himself as Riker while they're having sex, so
Yeah.
that he could actually have sex with someone
Yeah, it's
for
weird.
the first time.
Super creepy.
Yeah.
Super weird, terrible bad guy thing, right? Obviously.
That is not the kind of sex that I like.
I've been really trying, baby.
Obviously, it's a bad. Okay, yeah, we're all on the same page. It's a bad
Yeah.
thing. But the best part is when Troy, like telekinesis her way back.
Oh, she
to-
mind fucks him
and,
back.
and
hard.
she's like,
Yeah.
"Remember me," and then
Yeah.
she destroys the ship.
But you know what?
Ah!
That wasn't Troy.
What do you mean that
I
wasn't
don't
Troy?
I don't feel like that's in her character. I don't.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding you.
Troy would
No,
100% would she
don't-
want to get back.
I don't agree.
Although, I mean, I will
mean-
give you this: a woman scorned.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll tell you that scene that he's talking about. So like, there's a scene where Deanna uses her connection with the Ron Perlman character to basically find out where the cloaked Romulan
Right.
ship is, and that reminded me a lot of the first time the Romulans showed up in Balance of Terror, where Kirk is having like basically a run silent, run deep, kind of like game of cat and mouse with like the Romulan commander who ended up playing Spock's dad
Right.
later on. So like I liked all this stuff. In fact, John Logan, the guy who wrote this, so he basically got the gig because he's friends with Brent Spiner. And John Logan has written Gladiator, The Last Samurai, 2 James Bond movies, Skyfall and Spectre, and he also created the Penny Dreadful TV series. So
Nice.
John Logan's not like a bad writer, you know. But for whatever reason, in this movie, I don't feel like he was the right choice.
Yeah, I felt like this movie was all over the place with its weirdness.
Well, it's basically a clone of Wrath of Khan, if you think about it. Like beat for
Wrath
beat, story
Wrath of
wise.
Khan is my favorite Star Trek
Yeah,
movie.
but structurally,
So-
this movie mimics
maybe.
Wrath of Khan.
I'm not getting that. At
Well,
all.
I kind
I
of
didn't
like
either.
you got the evil guy who's got a connection to the main character, and then you have the sacrifice of the best friend of the main character at the end. Yeah, I can see it.
I mean, there's so
It's-
much
it's-
weird.
Paced a lot differently, but
It is, but like from
The
a
structure,
from
yeah.
a story structure
Yeah.
point of view, like it basically takes the plot of Wrath of Khan and kind of transfers it over into the
Yeah.
Next Generation.
I can see
era.
that.
And Stuart Baird, the guy who directed this movie, so he had done Executive Decision and U.S. Marshals before this movie. And this is the last movie he's ever directed because this movie was such a huge failure.
Oh God, it ruined his career.
Yeah,
That's not good.
Yeah,
That sucks.
but he basically,
What a way to retire.
well, the crew hated working with him because he didn't know anything about Star Trek. Like he didn't even know the characters' names, and so he kept trying to like make all these changes. And they're like, "Dude,
That's not us.
yeah. That, like there's 7 years worth of like continuity that you're
Yeah.
just ignoring by doing this."
I don't know why movie studios and people who make these movies would even think about doing that. So
Well-
why would you bring in somebody who doesn't know
So-
anything about these movies?
It's
To make a
the,
movie,
the
it's-
fresh perspective.
I
Well,
get that, but
and
that's
also-
Originally,
ridiculous.
LeVar Burton was really campaigning hard to direct this movie.
Probably would have made it better.
Wow.
He might have, but the studio wanted to do something where. So originally they wanted to bring in Nicholas Myers back, who did Wrath of Khan and Star Trek 6, and so like
That would've been interesting.
Nicholas Myers was like, "Okay, I'll come back, but like I want to make changes to the script," and they had already promised John Logan full script control. So Myers was like, "I'm out," and so they tried to do another thing where they wanted to bring in someone who was unfamiliar with the property to kind of reinvigorate it.
Okay.
And so basically Stuart Baird, he's really well known as an editor. And so he did a bunch of like high profile editing jobs for Paramount. And he was like, "I'll do these for you for free if you let me direct another movie." And so that was like the deal. And he came in and the entire cast just hated working with the guy.
There's just so much stuff about this movie that I just don't like.
I don't like
It's
B4.
like so I was just gonna get to that. It's like before Brent Spiner played this dude up as just a complete retard.
Yes.
You know, and
That's what my
It's just-
wife had never seen this movie before. We watched it
he's all,
together.
"Interpreter, I don't
Oh, this
know
was the
what
first-
I'm talking about." It's just, I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
It was just,
I get that 100%.
it was awful.
What were you going to
This
say?
was the first watch for your wife
For my wife, yes.
this week?
Yes.
Really?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she hasn't seen a lot of the movies. She's
that's
watched all the
shocking to
TV
me.
shows, but she's never seen the movies.
I know she's a huge Trekkie.
Yeah, yeah. She never saw the movies before, the Next Generation movies. So she watched this for the first time, and she was asking me, she's like, "What's the deal with what's this like copy data thing?" And I'm like, I said exactly what you said. It's like Data's like dumb brother kind of thing. Like I'm like, I don't know how else to describe it. It is
Yeah.
exactly that. So it was kind of off-putting. I really didn't like that aspect of
Well,
it.
one of the interesting things about this movie is that one of the reasons why Star Trek had been such a linchpin for Paramount in the past is because they were able to make the movies fairly cheap. Like most Star Trek movies were $30 million.
Mhm.
And they brought in a predictable, like close to $100 million, box office. And so they were always very profitable. And what started happening with Insurrection is they started increasing the budget. And the budget for this one, it's twice as much as the normal Star Trek
It is, yeah.
movie. And the reason for that is because all the cast came back and basically negotiated like hell to get more money. So like Picard, Patrick Stewart made more money off of this one movie than he did in the entire run of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Good for him.
Yeah.
And
right.
for a while there, it looked like Maria Sirtis.
Sirtis.
Who does she play?
So she plays Troy.
Okay.
It looked like she wasn't going to come back because she was playing really like hardball to get more money for this movie, and they were going to replace her with Jerry Ryan, who was going to play Seven of Nine in this movie. But because they were able to work things out with Sirtis, she came back and reprised her role. But for a while there, Seven of Nine was going to be a member of the crew because by this point Voyager had ended. DS9 had ended, and so like their stories have kind of concluded. Instead, they brought back Captain Janeway.
Janeway, the little cameo.
cameo.
Yeah, Captain Janeway is my
Admiral Janeway.
Admiral Janeway.
She's my second favorite captain besides Picard. Voyager is one of my favorite. I love Voyager, dude. I love that show.
Listen,
I watch that shit all the time.
the second best captain is Cisco.
Stop
Okay.
talking.
He's
about
not
this
even a
guy.
captain.
Yeah, technically he's a commander.
Or third.
He's a freaking mall cop.
Guys,
How dare
I
you?
know what you're talking about.
DS9.
Well, someday you will.
Cisco is
Young
DS9.
Padawan learner.
Listen.
Stop talking.
Since our last conversation last week about DS9 and how it connects with First Contact, I went back and I downloaded the entire first season. I tried to watch it. Oh my god, it's such a bore.
On what, DS9?
Yes.
Yeah, the first,
Yeah,
the
you-
first season's
you
rough.
can- you
Really
skip-
selling it for me, Alex.
Listen, skip the season
It's
4 and
mall
start there.
cops in space, Jude. It's horrible. I'm
Go-
sorry,
listen.
DS9 fans. That freaking show
Go
sucks.
doing Worf joins the cast and go forward. That's when it gets good.
Yeah, I believe you.
But
I'm
Speaking
getting
of
there.
Worf, he was really pissed off because he didn't have anything to do in this movie.
Well, he was more comedic relief. It was
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah, and we have to
He
talk.
got to shoot the gun on the back of the
yeah,
dune
we,
buggy.
we have to talk about the Dune buggy stuff.
Okay, yeah, let's get it out there. I mean, whatever. Picard wants to have a goofy good time. He wants to go dune buggy.
Well, no, it was Patrick Stewart. He was like, I want a dune buggy. And so like they had to write that into the movie.
hoorah! Go get him, Patrick Stewart.
It's in his contract.
Yeah. He wanted to drive around a dune buggy. And so they were like, okay, we'll put it in the movie.
I
Can't
honestly,
you just go dune buggying this weekend while we're not filming?
I want it on film. No, I honestly, like, yes, it's ridiculous. Obviously, they have like freaking shuttlecrafts and hover
Yeah.
this and whatever the nonsense. Why they have a freaking
Listen, man,
motorized dune buggy?
They could have like isolated all 6 parts of the retard data and
Stop
just beat.
saying that. You can't say that.
Yes, I can.
Jude, you guys are gonna fight about it later.
It's a word, and it's just they could have beamed all the pieces up to.
They could have beamed it. Well, isn't
and
there
just-
something with the radiation?
There's always something with the radiation in the planet.
There was something
Okay?
interfering with
Yeah.
the
The
transporters.
sensors.
The Celaton beams weren't working with the thalionic radiation or
Celaton
something.
beams.
Whatever. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I
But,
get it.
yeah,
I get
so,
it.
So let's fly down in the captain's ship and
And dune
drive
buggy
around
our way
in a
out
dune
there.
buggy.
And the dune buggy,
with the
which happens to have a
with the
turret on the
pop-up
back.
gun turret. Get the fuck out of here. Oh.
Yeah, and where did those pirates come from?
I don't know.
Like, there's so much stuff about this story that doesn't make any sense because, like, first of all, they never say how Shinzon got the data clone to lure the Enterprise in, or how he knew that the Enterprise would eventually find the data clone. There was a lot of stuff that had to like just happen in order for his plan to work out. And also the whole fact that like they created a duplicate of Picard because they wanted to replace Picard with the evil one. You kind of need the replacement to look just like the original. So why was he like so much younger than
he was
Picard was?
He was cloned.
See, I really
not that long ago.
I really like that whole concept.
20 some years.
That would have been like a whole season arc.
Yeah, the clone
in
of
a
Picard
show.
who's fighting
The evil Picard clone.
the evil Picard. And I watched the trailer for this movie. The trailer was like, for every thing in the universe, there's an opposite react. Like it was something dumb like that.
I need to start doing that. Go back and watch the old movie trailers.
Originally they were going to have Patrick Stewart play both roles.
Well, they should have.
That would have been better.
But they would have had to pay him more money.
Oh, you cheap bastards.
So they decided to cast it. And it was funny enough because this was Tom Hardy's like supposed to be his breakout role.
Yeah.
I look at this dude and I don't see Mad Max. It's weird. I don't see Bane. I see.
Well, he's skinny.
I know,
he's like tiny.
It's like
just a boy.
Yeah, he's
it
young.
it was so weird knowing that it's Tom Hardy.
After this
that.
movie failed, like this almost ended Star Trek completely because like it was the first time that
And everybody blamed Tom Hardy because he's the new guy.
Well, no, they didn't blame him, but like because it was supposed to be his big breakout role and it ended up bombing, he got like super depressed. Like he like broke up with his girlfriend. He started drinking really heavily. Like it almost killed him.
Oh, I love Tom Hardy.
And he like kind of pulled himself back out of.
He's awesome.
That
bums me out because I honestly like when they were talking. Obviously, he was cloned years after Picard had been a captain for a long time. Whatever. So he would be significantly younger. That makes sense to me. They're not going to clone Picard the same time he's born, so they're the same age.
Yeah.
So he's going to be a younger version. The description, or not the description, the explanation as to why he looks different, I thought was pretty solid. He's like, that's what a lifetime of violence will do to you. They broke my nose and broke my jaw. Like that, I was like, yeah, okay, he's going to look kind of the same, but very different because of his life.
I'm sure if they cloned me and
fucked you up and threw you in a slave cave.
And he like actually like worked out in the gym and had a good life.
Very different, yeah.
He looked way different than what I look right now.
Yeah, 100%. That doesn't bother me at all. I bought that.
He wouldn't have my awesome beard.
Yeah, there's nobody else that has that awesome beard. No,
he might have that blonde long metal wig, but that's not a wig.
Oh man, I was gonna wear that today.
Shit.
Anyway, I still like, even watching it today or last night when I watched it with my wife, like it's not great. It's definitely not a good Star Trek movie, but I still don't hate it. I bought it. I was like, okay, yeah, that's what the Romulans would do. They would try to clone Picard and have some kind of, it's freaking spy game going on.
Completely a Romulan thing to do.
I get it. I get it 100%. And like go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, it's kind of funny because like after I watched this, I called up the premiere episode of Star Trek Picard. And you can tell that they just jumped right off of this movie with like the whole relationship with the Romulans and Data with like the Blue Sky song and stuff like that. Like when I first saw Star Trek Picard, I had forgotten all about this movie. And then like watching it, like right after watching this movie, I was like, oh, they actually did some stuff to tie it into that. But
into the worst Star Trek movie.
Yeah. Well, the worst Star Trek movie into the worst Star Trek series.
Yeah.
So yeah, makes sense.
Makes sense.
And it makes me sad because it all could have been done very well.
Well, you want to know what they had planned for like a movie?
I really don't want to know because I'll just get angry.
Well, I'm going to tell you.
God dang it, man.
Is it better or worse?
So basically the follow-up to this would have seen the Next Generation Enterprise crew crossing over with Deep Space Nine and Voyager, as well as Riker's command of the Titan. And basically introduce new crew members there. And it would have gone off to split off into DS9 and Voyager movies with a TV show starring Riker and the new Titan.
That would have been awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
I always thought the Voyager crew got snubbed for not having their own movie. At least one. Give them one movie.
I've always wanted to see the adventures of Riker and Troy on the Titan.
On the Titan? Yeah, that would be dope.
And I think they were going to bring Worf along, right?
Oh, they had to.
I remember, I think I read something about that.
Even though I don't really like DS9, I think they also, there could have been.
Worf is in all the shows.
That's awesome. Good for him. Good for him. Get that money.
Dude, once you get into the Dominion War part of DS9, it gets so good.
Yeah, you really just got to go to the season 4 and go.
I don't give a shit about the angry.
It's so good.
The angry shape-shifting security mall guy.
Yeah,
I just don't care.
Worf gets to like do some Klingon stuff. And,
okay,
and it's
right.
like, it's
I'm
really
gonna
good.
stick it out. I'm still in the
It's really
first
good.
season. I'm gonna stick it out, but I'll watch it. But I'm just like right now, I hate everybody on that show. It's just a bunch of melodramatic people stuck on a space station.
What do you have against people who used to work at a mall, Alex?
That's all I can describe it as. Like if somebody was like, "What is DS9 all about?" I'm like, "It's like
mall.
It's mall cops." Like my Star Trek, the Star Trek I want to watch is an exploration and going where no man has gone before, and these dudes are stuck next to a shitty planet.
You're not the first person that's ever said that.
Ugh, so dull.
They're on a space station. How can it be Star Trek?
Once you get into like all the political intrigue and the spy stuff and the Dominion, like DS9 gets super good.
There's like a super convenient
It's
wormhole.
arguably the best of the series.
Anyway, Nemesis.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about this movie. I don't love it. I don't love it.
No,
I just never knew that it had so much disdain towards it. Like I was like, okay, it's just like a mediocre Star Trek movie.
Picard and Data go to they're in the Shinzon ship.
Yeah.
And they shoot their way through all the endless corridors.
And then they get in the ship.
And they get in the ship and they shoot their way through the ship. It's ridiculous.
It is kind of ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
I also like how they gave Riker his moment taking down Troy's rapist.
Well,
yeah.
They should have given him that.
100%. Yeah, they've got him in a fight in like a Jeffries tube or something, right?
Yeah, and they based the Remans, and this is the first time we've seen the Remans off of Nosferatu.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
they do look like that.
They do look like that.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Right on.
Little space vampires.
There you go. I dig it.
I had to spend a long time kind of explaining the difference between Romulans and Remans to Jude while we were watching.
That is a fact.
Huh. They explained it in the movie, though, didn't
they?
They were the people who lived on the dark side of the planet.
Romulans are basically the same as...
They're cousins of Vulcans.
They're cousins of the Vulcans.
Yeah.
They split off. They went to their own separate planets. Remans were on this moon. They're a slave caste. And it's just...
But I like the space vampire things.
Yeah.
Very accurate. Okay, so let's talk about the Data dying in this movie.
Terrible.
Brent Spiner had been wanting Data to die for a long time.
Honestly, dude, to tell you the truth, if they would have done that, I would have been okay with it if B4 wasn't in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, make it mean something.
Yeah.
But the fact that at the end...
Well, they said...
we're going to upload all of Data's memories into this freaking dumb version of you.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, it's like, oh, maybe he'll still be alive. It's like, dude, no.
We were all like, oh, Data's still there. He's in B4's
make it mean
he's in his
something.
Anagrams or something.
And then in Star Trek Picard, B4 is just in a drawer.
Derp.
I forgot how they justified having Data back in Picard series.
Like his positronic memory went out into the
iCloud
because of the weird radiation from the ship.
God damn that show.
Yeah. And
anyway,
instead of just downloading all of his memories from B4's positronic network,
and making a new one.
Yeah.
Well, Data's supposed to be like
Jude's totally lost.
She's totally lost.
Up. Don't spoil us.
I'm sorry.
You're not allowed to watch these shows.
They will ruin your love.
They will ruin your love for Star Trek. You're not allowed.
Okay.
It's against the rules. But anyway,
you can watch up through the end of Enterprise, but you can't watch season 2
of Enterprise.
It's garbage. So, but after season 2, you can watch.
Okay. Why don't you just come over and put the parental lock
I'm
on the Netflix so that I can't access things that I shouldn't watch?
Honestly,
I'm going to send you a list, okay? Like
anything that's on Paramount Plus right now is off limits. Because that's where all the shit is. But all the old good stuff is on like Netflix and Prime and stuff like that. So just stay away from Paramount Plus. You should be all right.
The Xindi Wars.
I feel like I'm going to try to stream something and one of you is just gonna appear out of nowhere, just smack my hand.
When it comes to the Enterprise, which is like the show that was
like
on
a prequel,
UPN. It's before Kirk.
Yeah, it's a prequel.
Okay.
It's the one with Scott Bakula.
You can watch the premiere, the first episode, and you can watch season 4. That's all you can watch of that show. Okay.
The patriarchy is at work hardcore today.
Okay, Dad.
Season 4 is actually really good.
I bet you.
I was upset when they canceled
it. Were you watching season? No.
Did you watch season 2?
No. Bad. This is season. I didn't know.
Yeah. That's like you need to be punished now.
All right. Let's wrap this up. Final thoughts on Nemesis. Vader, what is the moment that really just digs at you with this movie? What is it about this movie that you just you're like?
Man, I gotta tell you, this whole movie just it's cringe levels of 11. It really is. It's just There's nothing about this movie I like.
Okay.
There really isn't. They even fucked up the wedding ceremony. I don't even, freaking Wesley Crusher's sitting there, and he just pisses me off by existing. And it's just and Data and his stupid toast.
He's singing.
And the Jeeps or the Dune buggies and Worf being comic relief and really having nothing to do in this movie.
I forgot.
They the Riker and Troy gross in the hot tub, whatever.
How is that worse than them in the bathtub shaving?
No, they were in bed. It was just like it was nasty. It was just like it's like.
Did you know
Jonathan Frakes grosses me out.
Jonathan Frakes refused to shave his back for that scene.
Oh no!
So they had to CGI out all of his back hair.
It's so nasty.
Where did you hear that?
That was in my research.
Oh my god!
Freaking.
I'm gonna ask him at the convention this year. Be like, hey, bro.
Tom Hardy looks nothing like Patrick Stewart.
Oh, they did the best they could.
He's 8 inches taller. Okay, it doesn't. Did they explain
made a
different
gravity.
They made a comment about that.
Something?
It's like, I always thought I'd be taller.
Whatever, it's just the dune buggies and the flying the ships
You
through
said
the
that already.
hallways and Brent Spiner's a fucking idiot, and no, the rape scene, the mental rape, I don't like it.
Okay.
This movie can suck my nads. I don't like it.
That's the title for the YouTube channel. This movie can suck my nads.
I did like the chick from StarCraft Troopers. StarCraft.
Yep. Just go with it.
And
StarCraft Troopers.
and
Dina Meyer.
yeah, I didn't even know that was her until today.
They make witchy things and sell them at flea
That
markets.
made that better because I've seen her boobs in StarCraft Troopers. That makes it good, right? So
half a star. Is this a 1-star crap fest?
it's okay. I can't give a Star Trek movie a 1-star crap.
Oh, there's
fest,
more rules. Okay.
but 1.5.
1.5. Half star for the boobs?
1.5 because I've seen Grand Admiral T'Pol's boobs in another movie. Okay.
She didn't know she was saving this movie when she did that movie.
I'm giving it half. I'm giving it the half star for Starship Trooper boobs. A lost star.
I'll allow it.
All right. We're good. 1.5 for Starship Trooper boobs. Bro.
I can't breathe.
Awful fucking movie. It's a terrible movie. I wish Alex Kurtzman had directed this movie. I broke them. The whole table's broken. Broke. Science fictionaries in the house.
Half a star for some tits in a different movie.
That's right.
Oh my god.
Still broken.
I like Tina Meyer's mama. She showed me her boobies and I like them too.
Kadish is still laughing and he's not even drunk.
Jude, what are your final thoughts on
This has been the Salty Nerd Podcast. Oh, fuck you, Vader.
Top that one, B.
Jude? What are your final thoughts on Star Trek Nemesis after you finish your shot?
This movie, this film, did to me what it did to Deanna Troy.
No.
It mentally raped you?
More than just mental.
Oh,
I feel like it raped my heart.
gosh, that's horrible.
This is a 1-star crap fest in the Star Trek universe. for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Those are powerful
This
words.
is the worst Star Trek thing I've ever seen.
Well, it's not Star Trek 5, but yeah, it's pretty close.
Where they saved the
terrible.
whales?
No, that's
I can't
The
remember
whales
the numbers.
The
the
whales
Search
were
for
often.
God.
Oh, okay.
I just said often. The whales were often. The whales were awesome.
Okay, so you're the one star craft
This
fest?
is a one-star crowd.
Wow, that's intense.
This
Okay.
is terrible.
Okay.
It was really hard to get through. There was no joy in it for me.
There wasn't a lot of joy.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
No,
They gave me rape.
yeah, that's weird. Okay. I like the payback that they got, though. All right. Kadish, final thoughts on Star Trek Nemesis.
Yeah, I mean, they went too dark with this. I remember at the time, Patrick Stewart kind of blamed the failure of this movie on franchise fatigue, which seems to be the excuse that everyone goes to when
Terrible.
Yep.
creatives basically just run a
Did
franchise
they pick
into the
that up
ground.
on the Romulan planet? Or
Maybe. But around this time, like people were like, "Oh, Star Trek's still for nerds. It's gotten stale. It's gotten boring. So we need to like spice it up a bit. Let's bring in the guy who wrote Gladiator and make it like all dark
let's
and gritty."
spice it up and give you some rape.
I mean, it's basically
'Cause-
it's basically the same philosophy that Alex Kurtzman is approaching the franchise with, where he's like, we need to make it current and adult and dark and gritty and blah blah blah. And fans, meanwhile, are sitting over here like, hey, don't forget
Yeah.
us.
It's
Like,
not what
we don't like that type of stuff
Yeah.
in Star Trek.
Yeah.
Like optimism and happiness.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people realize just how close this movie came to like ending the franchise completely. Because at the time, Les Moonves, and we'll talk about this a little bit when we cover Chaos on the Bridge. So he was kind of in charge of Paramount Television and Viacom and stuff like that, CBS, and this movie's failure led him to basically believe that Star Trek was dead, and that's one of the reasons why he decided to cancel Enterprise and basically bring like the whole Star Trek thing to an end for like a good, I don't know, 5-6 years, something like that.
It's terrible.
Yeah. So this movie just, basically put an end to all the next gen era shows like DS9, Voyager, Next Generation. All the movie plans for that stuff just got scrapped. And it led into Enterprise, which was a dramatic shift away from the traditional Star Trek formula.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. And you can blame this movie for that. So this is my least favorite Star Trek movie by far. And I give it, 2 Shinzons out of 5 because
You give it too many shit.
I do, but
You do. Yeah.
I can't bring myself to give it a 1 because there are good things in this movie. But overall, I think 2 is fair.
Okay. I guess this is just nostalgia for me then, mostly. Because I hate the movie now that you've told me that it like ruined the Voyager movie and all those other cool movies that I would have wanted to see.
Titan.
Yeah. I would have wanted to see
God,
that.
I would have wanted to see that movie.
So the fact that
TV
this
show.
movie killed those things, that I'm going to drop it down a star for that. But this is a 2. I'm going to agree with Kay. This is a 2-star movie. There's things about it I like, but the fact that it has so many things wrong with it, and the fact that it killed the franchise for the most part during this time period, that bothers me a little bit. I didn't know that, so 2-star. All right, guys.
I think that's really fair.
You were gonna give it 3 stars?
Yeah. They crashed the Enterprise into another ship.
That's just a movie thing. They do that all the time.
They did the same thing in Fast 9.
They killed the Enterprise D in the first one. So
Anyway,
I also have a problem with how like that scene happened because the Enterprise running into that ship would have just
Stupid.
momentum like just carried
Kept
it
on
backward.
going.
yeah, and they let Troy push the button.
Oh, did you guys see Bryan Singer's little cameo in this movie? The director of the X-Men movies and
Did
all
not.
that stuff. He has like this really brief cameo where like he just takes over for Worf or Riker or someone on screen.
He was like an extra.
Yeah. Didn't have a speaking part. He just like shows
Nice.
up real quick.
All right, guys, that's it. That's our discussion for Star Trek Nemesis. Vader broke the chat. Congratulations, sir. That was epic.
That's what I do, sir. It's what you pay me for.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. We're going to come right back. We'll talk about Chaos on the Bridge, give a little bit of a retrospective look at the Next Generation as a whole. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, if you'd like to chat with us on our Discord channel, go to saltinerdiscord.com. That'll take you over there to our Discord server. We have a ton of different chats open. We've got spoiler discussions for Loki. We've got Jurassic June for Dino Nuts like me. Got all kinds of cool stuff. Head over there. You can become a member. You can become one of the pod people roles, or if you would like to become a Patreon, you can go to get the exclusive chats for the Patreon only members where we do live watches and edit videos. We're all live stream how we edit the podcast, kind of how the sausage is made, if you're into that kind of thing. So saltinerdiscord.com.
Yep.
Sausage is funny.
Sausage. Hang out over there, guys, and chat with us. All right. Last on our list today, we're going to talk about a background, a retrospective view of how TNG became the thing that it became. And it's going to be called Chaos on the Bridge. It's a documentary that was hosted by William Shatner. And let's chat about it. I don't know if there's a synopsis, really, Jude. Is there? Go ahead. Take it away.
A brief description.
I can't wait for this. I bet it's going to be awesome.
Okay.
I love Jude's synopses.
Yeah, go ahead.
Synopses.
Synopses. Some drunk seas.
That's the best way to listen.
I know, right?
2014, Chaos on the Bridge, with a runtime of 59 minutes. Here is your brief description. Gene Roddenberry liked to party and would not compromise his integrity.
That sounds like me.
Alex likes to party and will not compromise his integrity. Roddenberry's creation lived on long after his death. Maybe this podcast will too. Discuss.
Am I Roddenberry?
Oh, you're totally Roddenberry.
You're totally Roddenberry.
I'm going to send my lawyers after you assholes.
His lawyer was a kook.
His lawyer was nuts.
You know who the best character in this whole show though was the writer dude that was like on
the old guy who thought he was hot shit.
Yeah, the guy that he's like, that Roddenberry dude, he's like, future people are nuts. You can't write nothing about people who have fixed everything.
Gene, what about this? Well, that doesn't matter in that century.
You don't know the difference
How do
between
you think that?
So
you don't know the difference between a warp core and a warp shield.
Hair doesn't matter in the 24th century.
Exactly.
bras don't exist. All right, so Kadish, this is kind of your realm. You're more into the background information with producers and writers.
To talk about
you
this.
have requested that we talk about this, so take it away, sir. What is it about this that you find so fascinating?
So I'm a big fan of the inside Hollywood baseball type stuff where you get to see like the creative process that plays out that leads to like, stuff like The Next Generation. And I just, until I saw this documentary, I had no idea that the behind the scenes drama that was going on for the first like 2.5, 3 seasons of this show.
And you were actually working at Paramount when a lot of this stuff was going on, right?
Oh, no. No, I'm not that old.
No, he was like 12.
Well, fuck me.
I mean, my time at Paramount was right when Enterprise was starting. So before the first season of Enterprise
Was it
premiered.
like 2004, 5?
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, something like that.
But basically, I want to say 2003. So, but while I was there, I got to be on the lot, and I used to go hang out at Star Trek Alley, which is what we called like the little street that had all the Star Trek sound stages on it from the original series onward.
That's cute.
And it was it was a really kind of fun thing for me to be where like all this like film history was, but at the same time, I also got exposed to a lot of like the corporate drama, the corporate backstabbing, and, the creatives versus the executives and stuff like that. And I always find that really fascinating because, it's a wonder that anything ever gets made in Hollywood. So I really find like the inside Hollywood politicking like really interesting because, you had Gene Roddenberry, who'd basically become persona non grata because of his behavior with Star Trek the Motion Picture. And his career was basically over. And then like they brought him back to do like, The Next Generation. And he continued his craziness. Like he was alcoholic. He was a drug addict. He was having an affair with his assistant. He was just out of control. And
living his best life.
Yeah, living his best life. And he brought in his lawyer, Leonard Maislish, to kind of like be his wingman and be like the bad cop to his good cop in a lot of these negotiations. And
he was a weirdo.
Yeah. His lawyer was definitely.
He was like stalking people and like sneaking into their offices,
and messing
like
with scripts,
changing
and stuff.
scripts on the fly. It was weird, man.
But you know what I thought was funny about the whole thing was what seemed like they were most upset about was that he wasn't a guild member, and how dare he touch a script
Yeah.
if he's not a guild member.
There was
It was wild.
a writing strike at a certain point too, right, Kadish?
Yeah, there was a writer's strike. And one of the most interesting people that they interviewed for Chaos on the Bridge, I thought, was this guy, John Pike. And he was basically the president of the Paramount Television Network.
Is that the guy with the
time.
beard, the white beard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
so
he was my favorite character of the show for sure.
well, he was the guy who was basically, producing the show for Paramount.
Yeah.
And he was the one who basically had to like directly negotiate with Roddenberry and Maislish and all these guys. And he played hardball.
Yeah.
And like he was very candid in the interviews in this thing. And
Oh, he was the one who was like, I was totally bluffing.
All right, so you were bluffing. I was bluffing.
That was my
the
favorite
beard,
part is
yeah.
when he was like, yeah, we were negotiating with Roddenberry and I put my foot down and I said, we're going to do this with or without you. And he was like, I actually couldn't have done it without him, but I was saying that and to see if he would buy it. And it actually worked.
And like the worst thing that could have ever happened to Gene Roddenberry was like if they were to create a Star Trek without him, because that was
was
his
his baby.
shining star. Yeah.
That was his one thing.
They basically just needed his name attached to it.
Yeah.
and one of the more interesting parts of this documentary was that they actually interviewed Maurice Hurley, who was like the head writer from like season 2. And he was the guy who basically he came off of Miami Vice and The Equalizer,
Okay. Yeah.
and they put him in charge, and he butted heads with Roddenberry constantly.
God, he was a goofball.
He seemed like kind of a dickhead.
Well, he was.
Okay.
But this is the first
Oh,
time.
good. Then I nailed it.
This was the first time that he ever publicly talked about his time on Star Trek: The Next Generation, and he passed away not long after he did this interview.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. So like,
Sorry.
so we like this is all the insight we've ever gotten from Maurice Hurley about his time on the show, and
he was only on the show for like a year or two,
he
right?
was on it for like
The
a
first
season
couple-
and a half.
yeah,
I want to
first-
say, but they brought him in to basically take over for Roddenberry because his health was starting to fail and stuff like that. And the minute Roddenberry left for like a vacation, and Hurley was the one who took over, like everything went to shit. And Hurley didn't get along with anyone in the writers' room. All the writers hated him because like as soon as Roddenberry was gone, Hurley was trying to like
Make it his own.
well,
in a way,
no,
right?
he was trying to preserve Roddenberry's vision,
Right.
and Roddenberry had this weird perspective of like, you can't have interpersonal
It's
conflicts
like
with the characters.
from what I took from Matt is that he was trying to preserve Roddenberry's vision, but he didn't know what Roddenberry's vision was.
Okay, so this is something that kind of Kadish
Well, he
talked
also
about.
hated Roddenberry's
Yeah, and they
vision.
dislike each other. It's like,
Yeah.
whoa,
It's something that Kadish talks about too, is like a writer or maybe a producer or whoever who's creating this IP has this grand scale idea,
Mhm.
but it's shit. And you have to have people on the bottom saying, no, we need to bring it down to this level and we need to take this element and change it. Where this guy was going in and trying to hold that freaking super high idea.
And what was funny about this documentary is that so Roddenberry brought in a lot of his writers from the original series that he had like really close
Like
relationships with.
Dorothy Fontana.
Yeah. And when they were interviewing him, like all these people who worked very closely with Gene Roddenberry, they were all just like shit talking him. They're like, he treats his friends worse than he treats his enemies and like all this other crazy stuff.
He was very loyal to his friends.
No, Gene screwed over all his friends as well as his enemies.
He had a lot of demons.
He was very perceptive, had a high IQ.
Gene was a historical revisionist.
Creative and contributive and collaborative.
Very intimidating guy.
He's good-natured.
He could be a bully.
But he was a nice man and he was a generous man.
I just found out that DC Fontana died in 2019.
Oh my
That
goodness.
kind of made me a little sad.
That's the writer.
The lady,
Okay.
the writer.
Oh,
She was the one
Dorothy?
that she wrote, most of Encounter at Farpoint. And
Yeah.
she was big in the original series.
And that was an interesting story too, where DC Fontana wrote the season premiere or the series premiere of Star Trek Next Generation. And then Roddenberry came in and put his name on it.
Put the Q stuff in.
Yeah, put the Q stuff in. But like he kind of came in at the final hour and just like rejiggered it. And
But
then,
like the Q stuff is the best stuff.
So,
right?
so I don't know. People might know this. We all know this. There was a big controversy about whether it was going to be a 1 hour or 2 hour. And DC Fontana wrote the Encounter at Farpoint stuff for a 1 hour, and then Roddenberry put all the Q stuff in to add an extra half hour to the show, which made it for a 2 hour premiere.
and he fought to have it not be 2 hours. Like that was when John Logan came in, had his poker moment where he's like, it's going to be 2 hours or we're going to replace you and find someone else.
Right.
And I just love that the way he told that story.
Yeah.
And Logan, he even had this great story about like him kind of like chastising Patrick Stewart.
Oh, can I tell that one? That
Yeah,
was
go
my
ahead.
favorite. Yeah, that was my freaking favorite part of this whole documentary was like this producer at the time, I guess. How many seasons was it? 2 seasons
They
in?
were in the second season.
Second season, Patrick Stewart was getting kind of fed up with his character. Like, I'm not being challenged as an actor.
Oh, yeah, the actor.
The actor in me is not being challenged with this role any longer. And he was like fighting. He was trying to edge.
It wasn't that though. It was they had Good Morning America come on the set, and
Right.
Patrick Stewart, like he wasn't like a jokey guy like the rest of the cast. He took Shakespearean train. He took it very seriously.
Yeah.
And when he saw like the Good Morning America people using the set as like props and stuff, he got very indignant.
Well, I would be too.
Yeah, I would be a little
It's like,
irritated.
that guy's got my uniform on.
It's like, this isn't a joke. This is my
the
job.
Weather. He's doing the weather in
Yeah.
my uniform.
It's
It's
like, I'm
like, get
taking
outta
this shit seriously. That would irritate me too.
I'm not here to be your joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. I understand where he was coming from, but I just think it was kind of funny that he was like, this is below me. So he goes and he's trying to confront the producer about the situation. And the producer he plays like 4D chess with this dude.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I called him for a meeting and I said, show up in your uniform.
No, he scheduled.
He scheduled a meeting at like 1 o'clock.
So he knew he would be in his uniform.
Yeah. He's like, I'll schedule. Yeah. Show up at 1 o'clock. I'll meet you for lunch and we'll talk about this. And then he's just like, and then I didn't show up.
Well, no,
He showed up for 15 minutes late or
15
something.
minutes late on
So it's like,
purpose.
so Patrick Stewart is there sitting in this restaurant in full Star Trek uniform with his Picard outfit on, waiting by himself at a table. And the producer finally shows up and he's like, and then when I went in there, I just said, you know what, man, Patrick Stewart, it's been a great time working with you. We're going to part ways real easy. I'll say goodbye. We'll write you out of the show and we'll bring in another captain. And Patrick Stewart's like, what? No, that's not what I want. And though it's just that's this kind of stuff that like this is why I don't ever want to be involved in Hollywood because that shit would drive me nuts.
He was the smartest guy in the whole production.
It's a lot of power plays.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny because that place where he met with Patrick Stewart, that was the
commissary.
the commissary on Paramount. And like I've eaten there multiple times. And
Is the food good?
Yeah. Yeah. No, one thing that studios do right is craft services. But it was funny because Denise Crosby shared a story here where she was like, the production of Next Generation was so cheap that they had to go to other sound stages and steal their food because they didn't have enough food for the Star Trek.
They were
people.
kind of the black sheep. They were kind of like the.
And they had like the secondhand trailers.
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
like that.
No, they didn't have any AC or anything like that. In the middle of summertime, they're sitting in their trailers.
So is it any wonder that they like went to bat for their pay for Nemesis?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, actors are always going to try and get paid
Well,
more.
they've
I don't
been
even blame them.
lowballing them for so long. Like, how long were they doing Next Gen by the time they got to
like
Nemesis?
7 years.
They needed a pay raise.
You want to hear something really sad? Well, go ahead, Vader.
I was just saying, what's funny to me is if you go back and you watch these first 2 seasons and compare them to like season 4, it's very stark.
Yeah.
You can absolutely tell that there was issues in the writer's room in particular for the first 2 seasons of this show because it's hot garbage.
Yeah.
It really is not good. There's a few standouts in there. Don't get me wrong, but man, you can really tell when Pillar came along and started changing things up. Is that right, Pillar?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's night and day.
Yeah.
And Michael Pillar was the one who wrote Insurrection.
Right.
So one of the interesting things about Star Trek, The Next Generation, is its revenue model. And this is what made it such a profitable thing for Paramount, where they, instead of putting it on network TV, which was, what they originally tried to do, when that failed, some crafty executive of Paramount was like, you know what, we're going to do first run syndication on this show. And so to give you a brief explanation on this, it's like syndication is when you have like a network TV show and then you sell the rights for the reruns of that show to all the independent broadcast stations around the country, and you get revenue off of the reruns. And so what first run syndication is instead of having it premiere on a big network like ABC, CBS, Fox, like whatever, you go directly to the individual stations and you sell them the rights to run the show first. And what Paramount did was they basically said like, hey, we'll give you this show for free. You don't have to pay a licensing fee for it for the first season, but we get to sell all the ad breaks. And the studio was like, and all these individual kind of broadcast networks were like, hey, that sounds like a good deal. Gives us content we don't have to pay for. And, you know, I think that they got like the first 20 minutes in ad revenue, and then like Paramount kept the rest. And Paramount was making like tons of money off of this business model, because like as Star Trek went on, they kept increasing the ad rates as it got more popular. And so they were making like, you know, like $1 million an episode or something.
I need to interrupt you. Didn't they use this same model for shows like Hercules and Xena and stuff like that?
Maybe.
I feel like that was kind of the start.
I know
of
that they
something like
used
that.
it for DS9 and Voyager and stuff like that. So it was very profitable for them. And that was really the thing that had them keep Next Gen on for so long, is that they were like, this is a license to print money for Paramount.
Yeah. And I remembered what I was going to say. It has to do with like just kind of how unceremoniously things happen behind the scenes of these shows that we love. Like, I love Voyager. It's one of my favorite Trek shows. I watch it all the time. I still watch it to this day.
If you're going to talk about it, you have to dumb it down for me because I've never seen it.
Oh, I won't talk about the show itself. Just kind of a little bit of behind the scenes stuff. I actually, when I went to the Star Trek convention last year, I got to talk to Garrett Wang, Harry Kim, super nice dude. I got to take a picture with Kate Mulgrew, Captain Janeway, the Doctor, Robert Picardo.
You were all super excited.
Dude, I'm super excited. It was so cool. I got to say hi to her. I'm like, oh my God, I love your show. It was nice. It was really cool to see her. Next time I want to do the autograph, because I hear they chat with you for a little bit longer for those things instead of like just the snap in the picture thing.
It's like, you'll be busy next time, okay?
Yeah. But anyway, what I was going to say is I remember Kate Mulgrew telling a story about Voyager and how like they had done 8 or 9 seasons, and it was like the season finale, and they were done with the show. 7 seasons.
All Trek series are 7.
Is it all 7? Really? Oh, I thought they went longer.
Except for Enterprise.
Enterprise.
4.
Well, the original series ran 3.
For 3. I don't count that one.
7 seasons.
The modern ones.
So the last like season finale, I remember Kate Mulgrew was telling a story about how like she was on the set and she was doing her last line of the show, and this was going to be it. They were wrapping. She's like, we did our line, and like nothing happened. Nobody clapped. They started taking the set down. And nobody said anything to her. Like somebody handed her a bouquet of flowers, like, good job, Kate. Thanks. And then just left. And she was like, "That I just spent freaking 7 years of my life doing this freaking show.
And all I got was this stupid
and all I got was this, nobody said like, good job, we love the show. No, it was nothing. It was just
a chink in the armor.
They just started taking the set down as they were leaving. She was just like, I couldn't believe it. I was so depressed. Yeah. It was very cold.
By then, Rick Berman and Brandon Braga had kind of moved on to Enterprise, and all the old stuff they were kind of like washing their hands with. When we were watching the documentary, I kept pointing these people out to Jude. I was like, I hate that guy.
I didn't understand why any of it.
Yeah, because like when I was at Paramount, Brandon Braga was the Star Trek guy. Like Berman had kind of like stepped back and given the reins to Brandon, and he was the one who was really behind Enterprise. And my frustration was that I love Star Trek, and I was trying to like angle to get like maybe like a job on Star Trek or something like that.
That would have been cool.
Yeah. And
your whole life could have been different.
It could have been, yeah.
He never would have met us.
Yeah. But Brandon Braga,
I'd still be dating douchebags.
Well, I am. Okay. Brandon Braga had this hiring policy where if you liked Star Trek, if you were a fan of Star Trek, you could not work on a Star Trek show, because he basically hated the fans so much because they annoyed him.
One of those guys. That
like if you had any kind of preconceived love of Star Trek coming into the office, he didn't want you working on it because he wanted to do something new.
Excuse me.
He wanted to do something new and different. And so I basically saw him run Star Trek into the ground while I was there. And I always resented him for like kind of like having some type of animus towards the franchise. And I was like, you should be hiring fans. You should be hiring people who love this content. Instead, like, his philosophy was exactly the opposite. And it just, you can see
it seems to be a theme in Hollywood, and it's even now.
And it's funny how often it leads to destruction, but then they keep doing it. It's so weird. Weird. Doesn't make any sense to me. There's one more thing I'd like to talk about. Kadish might have a couple other things, but for me, there's one element of this documentary that really surprised me. And I was like, for my generation, and for I'm sure many people, like Picard is the captain of Star Trek, right? That's the first person you think of. Like older fans think of Kirk. For my generation, it's freaking Picard, 100%. We would never be able to see anybody else in that role except for Patrick Stewart. And when they were negotiating who was going to take over as captain after Kirk left, and they were like, they presented Patrick Stewart, and was it Roddenberry was like, you can't have a bald man be the freaking captain.
No, that was Pike.
Was it Pike?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Roddenberry was the one who was like, hair
That's
doesn't
right.
matter.
Yeah, he's like, it doesn't matter. Hair doesn't matter in the 23rd century. I love that. I just love that aspect of it, where everybody's like, he's bald.
It made it so simple. Like,
Well,
hair doesn't matter in the future.
They made him audition in a toupee.
Yeah.
Yes.
God,
They had to fly in from the UK.
His toupee.
Yeah. I think I might have seen a behind the scenes photo of that, because I have a distinct memory of seeing Patrick Stewart with hair in a Star Trek uniform in like black and white. Like, I've seen that photo somewhere. I'd love to see if I could Google it and find it, but it's out there somewhere.
And you were talking about how unceremonious a lot of this stuff is. Denise Crosby has like a great story about how, like, you know, her last day on you know, the set, and people were just like, I think there was like a tweet exchange between her and Rick Berman where he had like her comm badge. Well, not back then, but like at some point, Rick Berman tweeted out a picture of her comm badge, and it's like, this was the last day that that Denise Crosby was on set, and she like replied to him as like, actually, like the episode where Tasha dies was my second to last episode. I was still on board, and she even talks about in this documentary how she was just standing on the horseshoe section for like 15 hours a day while they filmed, because she didn't have any lines, and so like she was frustrated because like she literally did nothing for like
not the best character. Not the best.
No, they did her dirty though, for sure. I mean, she could have went somewhere.
But I was never a fan of her character.
Tasha,
as a person who was there and watched this stuff on first run, Tasha Yar was not a big deal.
I think her character could have grown into a bigger deal.
Probably
she
could have.
boned Data, dude.
I mean, she had her couple moments. It's like, I mean, you know what I remember most about that episode where she died was
I didn't know she died.
Oh God, damn it!
You sweet summer child.
Please carry on your conversation.
As Armis, I love the tar monster.
Oh, the tar monster.
Yeah.
That's a good.
It's just like, I go, that's some Kirk era shit right there.
Yeah, it is. It feels like old school.
It's like it was old school Trek right there.
Yeah.
With
Sounds
the
nice.
with the shitty sound stage.
Yeah. And the matte painting in the background.
It's brutal.
Oh,
but that's what I liked about it.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of cool about it, you know.
But one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this documentary, in addition to like the two next gen movies, is because there's no reason the Next Generation should have turned out as good as it was.
No.
And the series, as soon as it hit its stride, was some of the best TV that you could possibly hope for.
Absolutely.
And then the movies came along and kind of ruined it. And we've been on a slow decline ever since. I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree.
The movies. The movies aren't worthy of the series.
The Next Generation series, in my opinion, is top tier Star Trek.
Yeah.
Everything else is a level below
especially seasons 4 through
7. Especially those
4 through 7 is peak Trek.
I love Voyager, but I recognize it does have its flaws, and I know it's not the favorite in the fandom. TNG is still better written than Voyager, but I have a special place in my heart for Voyager. I've been watching it.
That's your thing.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on Chaos on the Bridge? Jude is giving you the glare. What's going on?
No, I'm not.
Oh, you're just staring at Vader.
She's just soaking it in.
This is my face.
soaking it all in.
All right. Yeah. Final thoughts on Chaos on the Bridge, man. What do you think about this whole thing?
I found it was entertaining. I like to see behind the scenes craziness and drama. And, you know, these guys, all these people are characters. I mean, don't you kind of got to be a little bit of a nutcase to work on a show like this?
100%.
In that business? Yeah. I just
a little bit of an egomaniac.
A little bit. You know, a room. Can you imagine like a room full of like 8 Kadishes trying to knock out a series?
Oh God,
ain't no way.
It would be very efficient.
Oh God, it would be
nothing would get done.
It would be the worst thing.
I work great with myself. Okay?
Yeah.
Jude, how about you? Being a newcomer to the Trek world, did this kind of give you like a different perspective when you're watching the show or the movies?
You know, I thought it was going to, but it didn't give me what I thought it was going to. So, in full disclosure, I started watching Nemesis.
Okay.
And then I couldn't get through it. And I was like, hey, why don't we watch Chaos on the Bridge? And maybe that will inspire me or like give me some backstory that I appreciate Nemesis more. And that's kind of what I wanted to get out of it. And I didn't. It did give me some behind the scenes stuff, which I'm sure like I get what Kadish is getting out of it. It didn't really give me anything, but I kind of got what he got out of it.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and I liked seeing Shatner back, just like kind of
talking shit.
I really thought that they kind of just like popped him in later in post.
Oh,
like
yeah.
He wasn't really there.
He's like sitting there in his chair.
Yeah. Yeah. Like he was like, just come to me at my apartment and I'll do this.
They filmed the documentary and then they're like, okay, this is what you have to react to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that that's not what happened. But I mean,
a bottle of wild turkey right next to him.
Exactly. It was interesting. I don't think that it gave me a deeper appreciation for anything, but like I maintain that I love the show.
Yeah.
And I want to watch more of the show.
Yeah, that's cool.
The last movie that I have watched has left me with like a bit of a shadow on my soul that I need a bit of healing.
Oh, go watch the TV show.
Yeah.
For me, I love stuff like this. I love the behind the scenes stuff, but it just kind of solidifies my idea that you have to separate the art from the artist. Because when you listen to these people talk about the behind the scenes stuff, 90% of these people sound like douchebags that you would hate to have to work with.
And I think Vader and I can attest, like we've worked on the strip for a long time.
Yeah.
You still do. I no longer do. But like when I was working on the strip, I was hands-on with these celebrities, giving them massages and treatments and stuff. And I never wanted to work on people that I was fans of because I already knew that it was going to ruin
don't meet your heroes.
what was up here.
Yeah.
All of the stuff on the strip and the casinos that to me that the tourists come in and see, the casino fronts, the restaurant parts, of the public areas, it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit.
It's all bullshit.
It's so fake to me. I can't even go on a vacation anymore and go to places like
a hotel.
Because I know behind that wall there's a hallway back there with offices in it that are gray
Clock in, clock out.
with the clock in
They're
out there
beige.
and the fucking black and white plastic marble fake floor where a bunch of miserable people are walking back and forth. It's just like, no. It's just like, I just can't do it anymore. It's like,
Yeah. To me, when I watch these shows, there has to be a degree of separation.
It's like
because it'll affect how I enjoy this actual show.
100%.
You know, at Disneyland, there's a tunnel system underneath all the rides with a bunch of miserable fucks
and freaking
it's like, oh, God, I hate this outfit.
It's fucking hot.
It sucks. Yeah. I gotta go up there and smile.
Freaking sweaty ass freaking dresses.
I mean, there's a degree of separation with anything, especially when you're in like entertainment or like hospitality. Like the peons are not allowed to interact with the people who were there to impress. And it's the same thing with something like this. Like even just like something like working in a hotel.
Oh yeah.
Like as a hotel worker, you're not allowed to ride an elevator with people who are there to visit the hotel. You have to use the shit elevator.
The freight
so
elevator.
that you don't mingle.
It's got the decomposing cabbage in
It's all about like maintaining
the presentation,
that illusion. Yeah. I get it.
I get it too. Katie, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Yeah.
Several.
Well, you know me. So if anyone out there is interested in like the kind of behind the scenes drama of Star Trek, where, which I think is just as fascinating as some of the actual episodes of Star Trek, I actually wrote a series of articles on my Medium account, medium.com @MatthewKadish, where I go through from like the original series to the Kurtzman era, like all the behind the scenes shenanigans that have affected the production of Star Trek. So if you guys are interested in that, go check it out. It's called Star Trek Civil War on Medium. You can probably Google it and find it out there.
On.
Would you call it fan fiction?
No, I did a lot of research and
Then I'm not reading it.
Stuff like that. Yeah, it's not for Jude.
I read a handful of them.
I think I've read it.
Yeah, I've read a handful.
It was a while ago.
They're pretty good. It was
Yeah,
when I first met you.
I actually think I read it before we were friends.
Probably.
Because you were like tweeting about it or something at one point, and I went and read it.
And I used a lot of my connections with people who still work at Paramount and stuff to get some inside info and kind of like just laid it out in as logical of a sequence as I possibly could, because I just found it fascinating. And we'll probably talk more about some of that stuff when we get into the JJ movies. But overall, I really like this documentary. I wish it was longer. I wish it got a little bit more in depth.
I really like the artwork snippets.
Oh, the little cartoon comic book things.
Man, they're like really good.
Yeah.
I'd like to.
I will
some more
say
of it.
I could have watched more of this documentary and less of Nemesis.
This was definitely better than Nemesis.
For sure.
You guys are so cold. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We're talking about Star Trek. Tune in next week where we're going to talk about something different.
Without Alex.
Without me. Subscribe, like, comment. What did you think? What do you think of TNG as in general? Comment below. Let us know.
Yeah, we're going to take a break on the Star Trek
for at least
stuff
a week.
for a week.
For a week. And then we're going to do the JJ trilogy.
Yeah.
We'll talk about those 3 movies.
And this is all in preparation for the con that's
we
coming
got
in
to
August.
have a Trek library up before we go to the Trek convention.
Yeah, 100%.
Street cred.
Exactly. All right.
Space cred.
Space cred. All right. Vader, where can they find you on the socials, buddy?
You can find me at Matt Vader 74 on the Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on our YouTube channel. I'm going to be streaming some games on Saturday mornings for a few hours.
Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Get to
Wish I could join you.
Get to kind of hang out with our subs.
Yeah. Right on.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Fun.
Jude, where can they find you?
You can find me at I am Jude Juju on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
And Matthew Kadish.
You can find me at Matthew Kadish, Kadish on Twitter, and kadishbooks.com takes you to my Amazon page.
And I am Alex, your host. You can catch me on Twitter at salty_nerd. And as always, stay salty, my friends.